How you guys doing, everybody? It's Danny with the Roots of Ambition podcast here with Angel. We got two very special folks in town here representing Sacramento, California, the gallery, and the
For the Souls podcast.
There you go, my girl Aime. This episode is special. It's very unique because they're putting together something that is gonna, I really believe in my heart, is gonna make a movement to make more awareness for men's mental health. But I mean, I think just people in general, men and women, right? Because we all suffer from different things, whether if it's trauma past or whatever we're going through right now.
Yeah.
Right? But we reached out to Aime. She said, let's do it. So I want her and Mario I want you guys to take the platform and let's talk about the Each One Teach One happening this Saturday, June 21st, 5 o'clock to 8, right? At the gallery in Sacramento, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. You want me to introduce you?
You can take it first.
All right. So Each One Teach One is an event that we put on in honor of Men's Mental Health Month. We really wanted to platform men who have been successful in their lives, not only with themselves, but with business, and be able to bring back that knowledge that you guys have attained through adversity in your life, whether with self, family. You guys play a really huge part in society, you know, with all the hard work that you guys do, being providers. And there's so many men that struggle in silence, you know, or are trying to figure out the work-life balance or entrepreneurial balance, and how can I do this while also ensuring that mentally I am progressing and overcoming the battles that they've had internally. So I will be hosting the conversation and discussion. Two panelists right here.
Let's go.
We're gonna cover an array of topics. We're gonna go straight from the beginning to, you know, a little bit of testimony to just more deeper questions regarding the intricacy mentally of what it looks like to get to where you want to go in terms of mental success and business success.
And I mean, for us, we are Sacramento, and the gallery was, when the idea was pitched to me, it was like, how do we create a space that's not sterile? Like a lot of times when you think of mental health, you think of an office and a psychiatrist.
Right.
And not to say that those tools don't work I think that everyone that needs a professional to talk to someone should go talk to someone. But a lot of times where men meet are not necessarily at a doctor's office. So if we can make this thing a catalyst to push men to look for help, that's why I jumped on, because I think for my personal experience that there was a lot of the you can't really express yourself, let alone have an opinion about your feelings. And that's something that I've talked to
especially in our community.
Especially in our community. And I think that's something that's always been a concern to me, especially when I'm raising a young man to become a man, right? And that's kind of my goal is to us be the catalyst, or this whole thing be a catalyst to push men that it's okay, or feel that it's okay to not only have those feelings, have an opinion about those feelings, and seek out the tools to just help yourself. And that's it.
Yeah. No, I think it's so beautiful the fact that you guys are doing it in a different space. Like you said, it's not a sterile space, so that you can normalize speaking about these things, right? Because these are happening. Like mental health is not one thing. They're like, okay, I'm cured. I never have to talk about it again. Like, this is an ongoing thing. You're always gonna go through struggles in life. There's always gonna be downs, and knowing how to deal with those things and speaking about it.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, even me and Danny, I've known Danny for, I don't know, 15, 18 years, something like that. And I think more recently, in the last 5 to 6 years, we talk about more deep stuff now. Where before, we all knew we were going through stuff, and we just kind of go in circles about it. And, you know, like, well, if he says something, I'll say something. And it's just, you know, learning that, like, it's just normal. Like, it's life. We talk about everything else. Why will we not talk about that?
Right.
And I also think that it's always been a little bit harder for men to reach out. To want to talk about those things.
Because you don't want to feel weak.
Yes. You know, the conditioning that you have to be strong all the time. And looking at addressing those things in yourself as a weakness when it's not. That having a community of men that you can just confide in and talk to and see, like, we all relate about this because we all feel this pressure. and we all have dealt with these things behind closed doors. It's a sense of community. You're not alone. You guys are all going through these things and maybe different levels, and just being able to learn from each other, and new tools from each other. Like you might do something differently than he might do, right? And just being able to gather what works best for you.
So I want to give you your flowers. So you know what the coolest thing that I saw the last week, and I wanted to call you, but I was like, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm put it on the show.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of men with tattoos making awareness for this, right? You had buff men, men working out, dude. You know what I mean? Stereotypical men you think would never like talk about mental awareness, right? And you had these men who were just, man, everybody needs help. Right? Everybody needs help. No matter what you look like, no matter what color you are, where you come from, every man out there is struggling somewhere or another.
Yeah.
You had the power to bring that out. And I thought, honestly, that was the most beautiful thing. And it made me just look in the mirror a little bit deeper. Like, man, I want to come on Saturday and do whatever I can to just blow this wide open. Right? Because we all come from different backgrounds, no matter where you're from. No matter what ethnicity you're from, some people suffer more than others, but we all have something going on. And the way you got those men to come out and speak was beautiful. So I want to give you your flowers for that. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
That was dope.
Truthfully, I cannot take all the credit because I had a little bit of imposter syndrome. And my husband actually, and I think this goes to show that men know what men need to see. Because he was actually the one that was like, babe, I think that you need to reach out to these men.
Right
and,
on,
they'll do it for you because you've been in good standing. And I was like, I'm so nervous. I'm going to ask them. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I asked, and everybody, there's still videos in my phone. I was trying to space them out, and, just to be strategic with it. But I still have like 4 or 5 men who sent me their videos in my phone for posting. And I'm like, I'm just going to double it. And it was a great turnout.
Yeah.
And even more so for the men to do it and just all look so different as well. The tattoos,
all different, different from all.
They were very genuine.
I mean, where I come from, my era. Nobody. I mean, dog. If you talked or you even cried in front of someone, it was like blood in the water for a shark, right? So if I cried, I was in the shower crying, or I was in the closet,
in private,
just in private, right?
Because it wasn't just other men tell you not to cry. It was like it was women in our lives, everybody.
A boy didn't cry. You know what I mean? And as I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser, and I've been through my stuff, and I'm coming out and finally speaking about these things that I've carried for so long that was just really heavy weight. It's made me feel way better and more confident in realizing that I'm not the only one, right? Yeah. A lot of people just knew how to hide it more than others, but eventually the hiding is gonna take you down a rabbit hole, and that's what it almost did to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And even more so too, I think that a lot of men were still very emotional in ways that stigmatize them, though. Yeah. We saw a lot of, or I see this occurrence that a lot of men tend to, who are dealing with a lot of these things, they channel that in aggression or gangs or, whatever that is fulfilling that void, drugs, alcohol, like most of us, but with men, a lot of it really, it came out in the form, their internal emotions came out in the form of aggression. Right. And then there's a stigma that comes with that because, men are aggressive or men are violent or men are this or men are that. Men are not processing their emotions because we haven't given them a space to process their emotions.
True story. True story. Yes.
I think a lot of times too, just to piggyback off of what Aimee was saying, I think a lot of men growing up don't know that they're being abused, either whether it's emotionally or physically, because it is normalized
and verbally, bro.
Verbally. So, like, I know my personal experience, at least with my family, it was like, I'm not raising bitches, or I'm not, excuse my language, but that's what I was told in Spanish. But that's a derivative of it. And then also the part where you can't even like voice an opinion about it, or even like little things when you tell your son, well, you're just like your dad, and then you see how that person treats your dad. Yeah, whether your dad is a piece of shit, right? Like whether your dad is that doesn't matter, because if you're telling me I'm just like him, that means you don't like me just like you don't like him. Right. Yeah. So then my personal experience was, they do not like me in this house. Like I'm not welcomed here, and it's my house. I was treated, and that was just the beginning of it. You know what I mean? And then it's like, well, why are you so aggressive? I was like, well, I believe everything that you told me. You told me I was just like him, so I'm gonna be just like him.
Yes,
and that's at the end of it all. Like, so aggressiveness and violence was like a thing. I think that was like
it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, that was like I'm just, and then it became kind of like an addiction because it's like okay, I can actually do this part, and so then that's the part. Like you have someone you're abused and you become an abuser.
Yeah,
because of those things, you know what I mean. So
it's downloading into you.
It's downloading into that. So it's kind of like, and that's why I love this part. Was like you can seek out the therapy, and that's why I was so gung ho about doing this because there is a lot of kids like me that immigrated from other countries, right? Like El Salvador. So if you know anything about El Salvador, a lot of kids saw a lot of things.
Especially people in your generation. Like that was a rough time to be in.
Right? So I was born 79.
Damn, you old now.
Yeah, right. I'm 46, but I feel 30. I feel 30 when I stretch. So it's kind of those are the kind of things that I want to be able to highlight. Like I want to be able to touch even the people that immigrated here that still believe that they shouldn't be having any kind of help. And I mean, you see it in
all the time, bro.
You see it all the time. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was it's important. Like I think men being able to generate those feelings and not look for violence or look for, going to the street and doing that. So if we can give the tools to men that are raising other men to just not overcompensate, but just not treat them the same way that we were treated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And another one that I think is important for a lot of us men to understand, like if you're my friend, like you're telling me you're my friend, and I can't come to you to tell you something and you're making fun of me, then you're not really my friend.
Correct.
Right? I mean, really, if I'm coming to you with something deep that I need to get off my mental, I need to get off my chest, and you turn around and you start making fun of me.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of guys need to be aware of that too, though, bro.
Yes.
Right? Because I think that's what also keeps that information inside because they're so scared of, if I tell him something and he makes fun, then, then why did I say something for?
Yeah.
Right?
You know what's funny? So that I've had those because I'm someone that clowns a lot.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You got to learn how to read the room.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm also able
There's a time and a place, too.
There's a time and a place. And I'm like, oh, man, you know what? But also it's like even therapy helps at letting go of the ego. Yeah. Because like...
That's 100%.
Right, because I'm someone that like, my defense mechanism is I'm going to make fun of everything that affects me. Yeah. So that you mistakenly project it. Yeah. So and I've done that with people like, oh man, da 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 da, and they were like, hey, bro, like it's not the time. I'm like, oh shit, my bad. You were being serious. Yeah. And then we can move forward. But I think being able to be prompted as someone that because we all use our tools, and sometimes our tools are not the tools that help you. Right, humor is my complete tool.
Yeah, same here.
And I don't believe that because I've had a homie be like, hey, bro, like I'm really like, oh, this is real.
Yep. Oh, let me peel back a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes too is not just the tools. I think sometimes even the language.
Yeah.
Like especially in our community, like there are certain things we say, certain sayings we say that if you really listen to them, I'm like, why am I saying this? Yeah. And so you're not meaning it in that way, but words matter, and being able to capture that. Like there's certain things that I used to say that I don't say anymore. That I'm like.
Can you give us an example?
So this one's a super racist one, but I'll say it. Yeah. And this is one that got me thinking that way.
Yeah.
So, trabaja como un negro.
Oh, yeah.
That's used in our community. Yeah. At least growing up.
Yeah.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, and I used to, it used to be said not as a derogatory thing, it's just like work hard. Yeah. But if you really listen to what that means, I'm like, that's not something we should continue to say.
Yeah, you're referencing slavery. That's what
or you get hurt, suck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't suck it up. You should you should still process it, and it doesn't mean you sit down and cry there forever. You still gotta push through, and if it's work, you still it's just the little change on tweaking. Like you can still have the message you mean to say, but words do matter. Especially for young adults, because for us that have gone through stuff and that are trying to figure things out, you could listen to that and put it through a filter if you have tools.
Yeah.
But when you're a young adult, you're just sucking it all in.
Yeah.
And you don't even know what that is until later on in life. And you already develop a character or a persona based on those things that have been said to you by adults that you respect.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of different things like that that we need to really be aware of what we're saying.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's where emotional intelligence plays a huge factor in parenting.
Bam.
And I think we're in this. I think a lot of us have shifted into this place in our life where we realize that emotional intelligence is probably, if not one of the biggest, most important aspects of changing the trajectory of what's been normalized in our children so that they can grow to be stronger and more confident in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us had to learn that in ways that were very unhealthy and a lot of stigmas on our back. And we were, a lot of us were black sheep and judged and for just trying to survive the only way that we knew how.
Yeah. So one of my biggest problems, and I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest come to Jesus problems.
Yeah.
With my whole issue, a lot of it's pride, my ego, right? Like confessing to my wife. I would the first time I ever really confessed to her about, man, I got some serious issues. I've been hiding this for years.
Yeah.
It was so hard because in the back of my head, I'm thinking man, she's gonna think I'm a punk. She's gonna think I'm a square now. She's gonna think I'm soft. She's probably gonna think that she's not safe around me no more, right? So that was my biggest saying it out loud to my partner, who I had already been with for almost 20 years, and actually telling her for the first time.
Yeah.
How do you, as a woman, take that when you're getting that kind of information from a man, that vulnerability? What is it initially you're thinking of him?
Honestly, I think that this kind of question is circumstantial to the woman because I will say, and women aren't going to like to hear this, women like to think that they know how to hold space for a man. But the reality is that there's a lot of women who can't deal with a man's vulnerability because of the idea of what a man should be that they've created in their head.
Right.
And rather than going into partnerships with their husbands or partners, they to actually be what it means to be a partner, right?
Yeah.
Which there's going to be those moments we're human. Because I have them as a woman, which means my husband is going to have those as a man, right? For a woman like me, his mental health matters to me.
Yeah.
I get a little bit because he's not the type to open up like that, So it's been a struggle to have to get him to understand that vulnerability is okay. But a lot of it has also been a lot of self-reflection on my end. Am I creating a space where my husband feels safe? And it's partly his work because he has to get himself to the point of wanting and feeling okay, I have to be vulnerable and it's okay. My wife loves me unconditionally.
Yeah.
It's not going to change the way she views me.
Right.
And it's also partly my responsibility to ensure that my husband knows and is reassured that it doesn't matter what you tell me. I'm not going to look at you differently. I love you regardless. And we're going to get through it because that is our partnership. That is the agreement and the covenant that we've created as husband and wife. So unless a woman has that level of understanding and emotional maturity, wifely wisdom, I would say, to be able to hold space for her husband,
Yeah.
not every husband might get that same.
Absolutely.
But I think it also, just like us as men been conditioned over these things that have been said to us, women on the same end, right? It's because they're also hearing the same message that is being sent to us. So that's the expectation they have because that's what they've been told as well.
Yeah.
So
that's the message being sent. Yeah.
So you also have to, I think, just be open and communicate hey, this is this is what we were told and we were programmed. We have to work on this together because, me and my wife, we've been together or we've known each other and lived together for over 20 years. And honestly, at the beginning, we were these kids with a shitload of baggage and really bad ideas. And we used to crash heads, and even just the way we would argue and the things we would argue about.
Yeah.
And little by little, we were we made space for each other where we're okay, let's have a neutral space where we are not critiquing each other.
Yeah.
but we are making observations about the people that raised us and what we feel this way versus about you. Like, hey, you're doing this. And so it's like, okay, let's talk about why you're thinking that way. So then it takes the focus away from the person. And we're like, this is what got us here. I don't like the fact that I think this way. What do we do to change? Because, you know, we only have the tools that we have at the time. So at some point, somebody has to make a leap and like, I want different tools.
Yeah, change it up.
Yeah, a lot of it is deconstructing what was normalized, unlearning and relearning. I think you nailed it too. One of the biggest things that you could do is take yourself out of this is who my partner is and reframe it in your brain to hold on. These things shaped how they've become, but we can reshape.
Yeah.
We can work together. We can deconstruct that and work together to become something conducive for our relationship, which takes a lot of work. And all it does, though, is need that one person willing to do it, willing to face it, willing to have those hard conversations and like, hey, we got to figure this out. And then, you know, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah, it's just about communication. I think one of the things that I think has worked for me is I like to bring up, like, just go back to my childhood and be like, you know, I remember this story about my uncle or my whatever. They were telling me this, and now that makes sense why I do this. And then typically that starts a conversation that she's like, you know what? And she'll say something about, and then we start getting deeper. And then an hour later, now we're talking about the real deep stuff. I'm like, oh, so that's why I do that. So, and I've never started the conversation about like, I don't like this. It was just like, you know, we're just talking about the way we were brought up, and it normally comes up. So I think the framing is so important, no matter if it's a wife holding space for the husband or vice versa, is how you frame it is gonna really determine the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
For, you know, one of the best tools that I got from like going to therapy was, and I think a lot of men can benefit from, you know, and it may or may not work, but I think you could benefit from it's just taking inventory.
Yeah.
Like, because I think as men, we're fixers, right? So we see a problem, we're going to try to fix it, even if the fix is completely wrong for the situation. Like, that's how we're built. Like, you need me to put this nail in there, but I'm going to use a screwdriver. I don't have a hammer, but we're still going to try to hammer it in with a screwdriver.
I'm going to use duct tape, though.
I'm going to try to do something, right? So it's taking inventory of yourself in situations. You know, for myself, you know, because violence was a thing for me. And emotional abuse, which is just hard words, and you know, and so I was like, okay, what can I do that's different that does not stray from me keeping my word? And I think if it doesn't compromise me and it doesn't compromise the other person, mentally, I'd have to be prepped for every kind of, and I think men on a daily basis, we deal with things that challenge our temperament.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that the mental health always comes into play is what kind of temperament do you have, and are you equipped to deal with those situations entirely? And I think for me was always worked. It's like, okay, what did I do to cause that situation, and how can I make it better? And if I cannot do it better and I cannot mend that, then my energy needs to come down here so that it doesn't escalate. Because as men, it's like, you know, we tell cops, you got to de-escalation.
Yeah.
I think even as humans, men and women have to learn how to de-escalate things so that they just, hey man, it's just this what it is.
Yeah.
And how do you move forward? And forward is just do what you're supposed to do. And at the end of the day, because we're all, as men and women, we sit somewhere by ourselves.
Yeah.
And you gotta tell that lie or that truth to yourself.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's like, what do you, like most of us aren't even equipped to, you know, from a younger age because of our generations. Like, you know, like my mom used to always tell me, like, you know, the biggest lie you tell is the one you tell yourself. And I'm like, well, shit, like I'm being trained here to do that, though.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about our problems.
Exactly.
Si viene tu tía, I'm going to say this in Spanish. Because it was like, mira, si viene tu tía, don't say this, don't say that. And if so-and-so is coming, go in the room. If you're still crying, don't come out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't go to that living room you're not supposed to sit in anyways. You know, so those kinds of things, like, you know, you have to learn, again, going back, say that out to say, taking inventory of yourself in every single situation before you make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, as men, it's not only imperative to do that. As women, also because it's a safety thing for women, but for us, for men, it's like we're constantly questioning our identity. You know what I mean? Because we don't know, especially if we're dealing with our mental health. Like, how do I fit in this situation, and what do I not do in this situation? Like telling a woman that I'm having issues with depression, or am I going to be ridiculed for that? Me, I wasn't blessed with someone at the time that took that seriously.
Yeah.
And when they would laugh at me every time I was like, every Wednesday, go to therapy at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Like I would leave work early to go to therapy. I took it seriously.
Yeah. Right.
And it was like, you going to your therapy? You gonna go cry? I'm like,
oh wow.
Like, so that kind of thing. It was so they go like, okay, you get what I'm saying?
100%.
So it's like, but I go inventory.
Yeah.
If I would not have been going to treat that depression, only God knows what I would have done in those triggers.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, you'd step back, inventory, like she just doesn't have the tools or take it seriously to deal with someone like me, and I can't blame her for that.
Well, I think you bring up a really good topic, and that I deal with a lot of young men that work for me, right? And I've been around a lot of dudes in my life, and the one thing that I know adds to men's problem is the female they choose to have kids with or to try to start a family with. Yeah. Right. So just, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago, one of my guys, I was on a job site, and normally he's like, hey, how's everybody going? Yeah. He was real quiet, and I asked one of the other guys, hey, what's going on with him? He's like, pues, tiene problemas en la casa. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right. So I kind of like left him alone, right? And I kind of walked around the job site, came back around, and he was pissed, bro. Like you can tell, like his energy was just flooding, like there's something wrong.
Everything.
So I walked up to him and I put my arm around him and I told him, let's take a walk. I was like, hey man, what's going on with you, bro? Usually you're real bubbly, you're cool, is the family all right? And he just, bro, it's just, man, my girl this and Bill's this, and she's never happy. We're always broke, and she's always telling me I'm a piece of shit and just going off. And in the back of my head, I'm like, fuck, dude, you have 3 kids with her, and you're barely 21, bro. Oh, yeah. Right? You know what I'm saying? So he's gonna have to. Again, I don't know her side of the story, right? Because he could be just as bad as her. But I noticed, like, how can we get in front of that? How can we get in front of that with these young men and say, bro, let's first of all, let's wear a rubber, bro, right? Yeah. Like I had a kid when I was 15, right? And with my kid, like, bro, I was on his helmet. Yeah. Like, dude, hey, eventually it's gonna happen, but this is what you got to do: A, B, Z, and Z. This you got to, bro. We're not having no kids. We're gonna go to school. We're gonna try to be a good man. We're gonna play some ball. We're gonna live your life. Experience different females, right? Get to really know yourself, right? Yeah. And he's 28 now, still no kids, right? He's got his own little house. Yeah. He's doing okay. But I use some of the guys that work with him, like, look, man, like this guy's only 21. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He has 3 kids, and he is unhappy. He is unhappy. This girl's probably cheating on him while he's at work. Yeah. Right? They're always broke. She's talking shit to him. So how do we get ahead of that, bro? And how do we teach these kids, man, like, bro, we gotta be smarter. We gotta be safer, right? Not every female, I was blessed to get a beautiful, smart, honest, very loyal woman, but not everybody gets that luck, right? Yeah. Sometimes we all make mistakes or whatever the case is. So I always go back to, like, how can we get ahead of teaching just boys and girls in general, man? Like, how do we prevent this shit from happening, right? Because there's so many stories where you hear, like, man, I got 5 kids, I'm 25, and, we hate each other,
So I would say to that it is a complex situation, but I think a lot of it that people need to understand, men and women alike, is that who you attract is a reflection of who you are. Mm-hmm. And as soon as people realize and are able to take that level of accountability, if you don't like the kind of men or women that you're attracting, then you have to take a good look in the mirror and ask yourself, what parts of myself are attracting somebody like that? Or what parts of myself are enabling for this behavior to continue? If you're already in a relationship, right? Yeah, right. I've been with my husband 12 years. And we've been together since we were 17.
Right on. You can run now, bro. Go ahead, big dog.
Hey, blink twice. Blink twice if you're okay. Blink twice if you're okay.
Look at all of his eyes and his ears are blinking, bro.
He's like,
He's having a seizure. He's having a seizure out here.
they're lying. Okay.
Yeah, right.
No, but in all seriousness, right? When we first got together, we both had our baggage. Mm-hmm. We both had this unconscious trauma and conditioning from growing up. Mm-hmm. We were completely two different people back then.
Absolutely.
One of the biggest challenges in our relationship was, how do we figure out to get to a place of healthiness for us and our children? Obviously, we had our children way back to back, super early on. I had to reach that point in realizing that the things that I didn't like in him, right, and equally so, vice versa, I'm pretty sure the things that he didn't like in me, was because at that time, this is where my mental was at. Mm-hmm. This is what I knew of life, and this is what I was giving, and so he was reciprocating that, right? And vice versa. As we've grown and as standards change, and that as personal responsibility comes to the forefront and accountability, I had to really take a look back at myself and say, okay, well, what do I want out of life, and what do I want out of a husband and a partner, and how am I as a woman acting and being so that I can receive that, right? And so there was lots of times in life where we would be off balance, one of us growing faster than the other, but I think we have to teach people to understand, first and foremost, that who you are is going to show up in the people that are attracted to you and the people that you're entertaining. So if you don't like what you see, change. There's something that you need to analyze within yourself. 2, what we're doing with having these conversations and really emphasizing the emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Because human connections, we're going to have problems. Relationships are hard. Throw kids in the freaking mix. You're two different people. You're not who you were before you had kids, man or woman.
Changing everything.
There's bills, houses, dogs. It all contributes to the stress factor. But if you guys are both diligently working on yourselves to come together and work together, then you guys can get through problems. Personally, me, I know not everybody is religious, but huge. Something that worked for my husband and I feel like we cracked the code once we did this, when we started putting God first for ourselves, me as a woman, am I living up to my biblical duty? Him as a man, is he living up to his biblical duty? And then coming together as husband and wife with God at the forefront of our marriage, I feel like that was when we had a very big shift in how we approach discussions or disagreements or those times in life where we are just not on the same page. Instead of, before we used to lean out, now we lean in. Yeah. We know, like, okay, we're growing. That means don't let it get us further apart. We need to devote more time together during this time, Yeah. That kind of
beautiful. That's beautiful, man.
Wisdom.
Right.
For me, like, my catalyst was having kids. Like, that's what kind of started getting me, the process to getting out the street, right? And doing what I was doing. But even then, the first time around, I didn't know what to do. So I became kind of like I'm going to pay the bills. Yeah. I'm going to do something, because the whole telling another person I love you when I wasn't even, I didn't know how to vocalize that. Like, but I'd be like, well, I'm going to show it this way. Right. Yeah. And then you learn that time sometimes, or presence is more valuable than providing sometimes. Because sometimes providing means, you pay the bills because we got to eat, but also you got to do this whole other thing that I wasn't equipped for. So it damaged my relationship with my first kid. Yeah. And mind you, me and the mom weren't together, so that drift, the space just got bigger and bigger. Yeah. Right? But once I had my other two, it was like, oh, I can do it this way but even, obviously I've had the conversation with my other daughter, and it's, she's 25-year-old, college degree and everything. And it was just like, so many things I could have done different. And again, taking inventory, where it's like, and I think my mistake was choosing people that weren't right for me at the time. Because me having kids with people at 21, doing the stuff that I was doing, that was completely irresponsible of me, because I wasn't a good dad in the sense of like presence in that sense. Like, I'm going to go to work and work meant other stuff. Right. Yeah. At that time, I was like, well, I'm just going to get away as much as I can, because me being even present is a problem. Yeah. It's not a good thing for them. You know what I mean? Bringing them into that kind of lifestyle because some of us do this whole 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
A lot of us do that.
I meet a lot of people like that now, where they're like, they got a full-time job, they got a kid's mom, but they're still kind of running around the ship. Like, you gotta pick one.
Yeah.
And whichever one you pick, do whatever's best for you.
Yeah.
But again, to go back to your question, I think us now that those of us that are prep, like teaching our children to just kind of respect is a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, and my son and my daughter and my two daughters, like, I am blessed that they are very respectful people, and I don't know where that came from other than me and their moms maybe growing, you know what I mean? And
getting older.
Just getting older and being wise. But like, hey, like, listen, this isn't about me or your mom. This is about you and how you're going to conduct yourself in the world.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, go ahead.
I think to add to that is, obviously you want respectful kids, but you also want to make sure they understand that they should also demand respect of everybody else.
Yes, completely.
And that's what starts, so that when they have these relationships, they never get to the point where you're saying is because oftentimes, like, I was taught to be respectful always of all my elders. And so, it's a Latino community, right? Mexican community.
Yeah.
But nobody ever told me I should also respect that back. And as a matter of fact, I was not respected by the adults. The adults did not treat me with the same respect I was expected to treat them with.
Yeah.
And so that is very important because then, you're 14, 15, you get a girlfriend, and then, you got yours pregnant at 14. And if you don't have that in the forefront of your way of thinking, that's how you choose a partner you should not be with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And
self-respect.
and also, children hear what you say, but they see what you do.
Yeah.
So the way that you conduct yourself as a parent, you could tell your kid all day what you should do and how you should act. I saw that all the time with my stepdad. He would always tell us how we should be and how we should treat people and what we should do, and then would do the complete opposite. And now he's seeing the repercussions of that. Yeah. Because your kids are going to do what they saw you do, what you modeled for them, because they're super observant.
They're looking at everything.
They're downloading everything.
The way you speak to people, if you make eye contact when you shake hands, the way you talk, the way, your daily routine. Are you disciplined or are you not disciplined?
Your gesture, your music, everything.
Yeah. And you're giving them the foundation, the blueprint to how they think life should be lived. So are you teaching them to live a conducive life where they are able to navigate these adversities or deal with this stuff?
Come on, girl.
Or are you freaking setting them up for failure based on your daily habits, or the way you deal with things mentally?
So you brought up a point earlier, though, bro, that was really good. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah.
So as I gotten older, right, I think it's funny, man. Like, the older I get, the smarter my mom gets. Right, some of the conversations, like, you're young, you're like, man, shut up, you crazy. But you get older and you're like, God damn, I understand what she was talking about now, right?
The frontal lobe needs to develop first.
Crazy. So I heard this quote. It says, most men live, they have two lives. One when they're born, and the second when they understand why they were born.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of men don't step into their maturity until they get older, or something either traumatic happens to them or they go through a life-changing event. For me, it was just finally, like, just coming out, man, and just letting loose and telling my story to people, right?
Well.
Holding this baggage in, and also, like, really doing the work internally, right? Like going to church and learning the word, right? And really, like, meditating and just, like, understanding, like, damn, man, you're getting mad right now because homeboy was just staring at you. You know what I mean? This kid's like, kid's 10 years younger than you, and he's staring, but you want to go over there and you want to smash him for what? Why are we getting mad for, right?
Yeah.
How do we, like, sometimes I talk to younger kids, where I use my son and his friends, for example. Sometimes they look at me like, Mr. Garcia, man, you're like a philosopher, bro, right? Because I tell them, my job, at least for me, my job is to cut your time in half. What I'm learning at 43 or 44, I want you to learn at 28. So by the time you're 44, you got this shit down.
You're not dealing with anything.
You're not dealing with anything, bro, right? So right now, like, my number one thing is whatever angers you controls you, Danny.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is. It can be a fucking, you're driving in the street or a customer, your kids, whatever. So I really try to hone in on that. Like, all right, bro, let's take a minute. Let's breathe a little bit. Let's chill out. This doesn't deserve my energy, right? It doesn't deserve any energy in return. This doesn't even, the lady's comment doesn't even deserve anything back to her. Just stay quiet, right? Bite that in the bullet. Do nothing. But when I talk to another man, same age or probably older, you know, I find out really quick that they're not at that maturity yet. Yeah. Or they're hiding it, or they don't want to hear the truth, or whatever the case may be, man. So how would we start the engagement with other men to say it's okay to talk? It's okay to meditate. It's okay to self-reflect and say, hey, brother, I'm not okay right now. I need to talk to someone.
So I love that you say that. So I have one word for men that whenever I talk to my son or somebody else, be malleable.
Be malleable.
Like if you're not able to bend and go and be formed, like gold, right? Gold, we wouldn't get necklaces or earrings if it wasn't malleable. That's why it's
bendable.
So be able to adapt to. So
like Bruce Lee, be like water.
Be like water. Be that, right? Be malleable. Always be capable of learning. Like one of the biggest thing is my son, right? My son, you know, he gets really upset when he doesn't do things right. And he does this whole so we're practicing this little soccer stuff that he's doing. So he shows his emotions because he's passionate right now. So it's great that you show your emotion, but put in the work first so that your emotions translate into 100%. Succeeding in this thing. And my son is very naturally blessed when it comes to soccer. So I just started going, hey, do this, do that, and take your time. You know, and in like 5 minutes, it was like, and he was like, oh, I like that. Goes to the game the next day because his mom asked me to work with him on some certain things. I was like, okay, cool, man, go do this. Because indoor soccer is, if you play soccer, indoor soccer and outdoor soccer is completely different. It's completely different movement. Come back, Dad, I did this and I did that. And he was like, he was proud of him. So again, I'm teaching my son to just kind of take time, right? To be malleable, to form something, it takes time when you're making a sword, right? Like that's it takes time to get it perfect. So don't think that you're gonna be sharp right now. It's just right now. You're still the fun is in perfecting the method. Right. So if you're not having fun as you're learning, then there's something else that we need to work on in your mindset. And so again, if it goes back to the question is changing the mindset that we have to be upset. It's okay to be upset. Yeah. But we don't have to be physically upset and show that. And because what I've noticed is when you show your cards like that, people don't take you seriously. No. It will woo yourself out of a good situation. Yeah. Because it means that you're not stable. And again, it goes back to emotional intelligence. Again, it's not saying don't be upset. Be upset as hell. Yeah. I get angry every day. Meditation, I meditate every morning because I am pissed off the moment I wake up. I am pissed off.
Yes, sir.
All the emotions we have, they're there for a reason. We need them all.
Every day. But if I'm going to go deal with people, and what I do in Sacramento, I can't go out there with that, con la sangre pesada. You know what I'm saying? No. Yeah. So I have to meditate. I have to, I hug my dog? You know what I mean? Like, hey, good morning. Because that's the person I wake up to every fucking day. Yeah.
Only one happy to see you.
The only one that's happy that I'm waking up. So it's like, my bed is like hella low. So he puts his big ass head on my chest. I'm like, hug him. Okay, meditate. And then he knows, you know what I mean? Leaves me alone, whatever. And then, but that's what I got to do. So again, going back to I think changing the mindset, telling them that it's okay to be upset, but channel this in this way. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, to piggyback off of that, I think it's also important that we understand too that, this is for all people, but I feel like it really rings true for a lot of men. A man who does not know his purpose is a lost man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when men don't know their purpose or they're still finding it, they're in this phase of just recklessness and decision making that is, you're like, man, what are you freaking doing, right? Yeah. And this is where spiritually, again, not to be super Bible thumper, I always remind myself, and I tell myself this as a mother with my children, right? I can do all these things to plant all these seeds in my children. I can teach them emotional intelligence. I can, teach them about being malleable, doing all these things, mindset, right? But ultimately, their testimony is their testimony. And I might have a knucklehead son until he is 37 and hit rock bottom in his life, and then boom, all the lights came on.
No?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or someone could go through that moment in their life where they found their purpose at 20.
Immediately.
And they're, so it also boils down to the character of each person and honestly what is intended for their life as well. So I think that trying to find your purpose and figure out like what gift have I been given and how can I utilize this for good. Once people can narrow down the gift that they have within themselves and how they can utilize that in their life, it's a game changer for then how they choose to live their life. Like my husband has the gift of discernment. You know what I mean? He just has to master how he's going to apply that in a positive way constantly throughout his life. I had the gift of gap.
Yeah.
How am I going to master this? And when I hit that understanding and that reason, then it's like, okay, every decision becomes important. Now I really have to tune in. Now I have to have the self-awareness. Now I have to learn, and that's when everything I think just clicks.
Beautiful.
There's a quote, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it goes to kind of what you're saying is like, be a lighthouse, not a tugboat. And, a tugboat helps boats get through, right?
Yeah.
But it gets beat up. It is going to need often repairs. Maintenance. It's a tiny little strong boat, which does a good service. But if somebody's not ready and you want to be that tugboat, the best thing you can do is be a lighthouse. Work on yourself, be the best person, be as bright as possible. And when they're ready, they're going to know the way because you're going to be shining it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that.
That's beautiful, bro. So that's exactly what I'm trying. Like I've been really focused on the last 6 years is just, like I talk to my son a lot, right? And like I got to the point where like, I'm going to back off the words and I really need to show him.
Yeah.
Right. And I got to the point where I was 375 pounds, right? And the whole time I'm telling him, don't let yourself get like this, right? Because I used to work out. I used to take care of my body, right? And then life happened, drugs happened, busy, stress just happened, right? Yeah. But the whole time I'm telling him, and he's looking at me, and he didn't want to say it, but like, man, well, you need to get your ass in the gym, dog, right? Right?
What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, dog? Why are you on me? You know what I'm saying? I can run 5 miles. Can you run fucking a half a mile? No. But I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? That's where I'm fucking up, dude. I need to straighten myself out. I need to fix myself. So stop using the words and start using the actions, right? To show them the way it's supposed to be, right?
What's that saying? If you want to see yourself, look in the mirror. If you want to know who you are, look at your children.
That's deep, yeah.
You came with fire today, girl.
It's the Lord speaking to me.
She came over here. She's just like,
she was reading the Bible as well. She had Monica be quiet. And Marky too, like I'm reading.
I man came over here rolling. I love it. I love it. I love it, man.
Thanks.
So what is the goal for each one? Teach one on Saturday, man. Like this is. I'm crazy, right? I own 2 businesses, and I'm always like I'm on hyperdrive. I get on my wife's nerves 24/7. I don't sleep. I maybe sleep like 3 hours a day, and she's always telling me, "Man, you got to sit down.
You're an entrepreneur.
You got to go to sleep, bro." I just can't because I just can't get my brain from stopping.
Yeah.
So the first time it was introduced to me, I tell him, and I told him, I know I sound crazy, bro, but there's some things that people tell me, and if it involves me, my brain starts to see things. Yeah. I start to see visions, right?
Yeah.
So like for a quick example, for Alliance Bath, when I finally burnt the ships, I was just like, that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen, but I gotta do this and that and that and this. And boom, 2 years later, it's off, right? Ace Renovation comes, same thing, right? And then the Roots of Ambition, same kind of thing. But when you guys brought up the Each One Teach One, like I'm like, this is gonna sound crazy, but I'm like, man, the message and what you guys are doing, the reason why I'm here is because someone gave me an olive branch. They each one teach one for me, right? So I'm in a position now that I'm 44. Like, man, we're not just gonna help one person, man. We can help multiple people at the same time. So for me, I envision you guys taking this and running with it. Different cities, locally, maybe statewide, whatever, because this is a huge message, man. And when I saw all your boys with the tattoos, I'm like, that's perfect. That is perfect because that's talking to every single man out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what's the goal with each one teach one for you, Mario? Start with you.
I think for me, it's like I think I said, like making it like before we started recording. I think making it a series, because that's if we only do a one-off, then we didn't really do what we were set out to do.
Yeah.
We weren't being our genuine self. Like I think if we just want to do it just to have a conversation, we could just do this,
Yeah.
right, and then release it and be that. But I think it's like you hear a lot of things that are just bad. A lot right now, like there's a lot of suicides in the first responders.
A lot, bro.
They're the leading cases for first responders, right? Men or women.
Right.
So it's not. So we want it to become this is about highlighting the men, but like the women that are with these men too. Like we're helping them too. We want to try to help them too. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just wanted to reach however many people it can reach, and then see how seeing the impact would be the glorious win, right? Like how is it directly affecting everyone, right? So I'm bigger on the direct impact, from me to you, and then you go do your thing, and that's essentially what it is. Like, yes, going to other cities and other states, that's great, and that's a great we could do that in the future because it's needed.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, absolutely.
But the immediate future is kind of like how do we impact our city? And then little by little,
grow from there.
Grow from there so that it's actually scalable because, there's nothing like you I think of everything as a business. And then if we end up helping people, even better. Scalability. How do we scale it? Is the aesthetic properly done? Are people getting what they need from it? Am I providing a service? And do you even need that service? So that's the way I looked at it at first. I'm like, okay, this is a really good idea. Big shout outs to Gabe for even having that thought process of just the idea itself or how this can help other men and leave it at that. And then how can we build from that? So again, I think for me, it's more of how can we make impact on men and the women that are with these men? Because again, another thing that happens is domestic violence.
Yes.
Because it's so if we get rid of one problem, we're essentially getting rid of a lot of different symptoms that happen.
Yeah.
Because of that. So that would be my goal, seeing the domestic violence go down, suicides go down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Men just being better men and better partners to their women or even their children. So that's cool.
Just being better men in
just
general,
being better, period. Yeah.
Better men. Beautifully said, bro.
Yeah, I would agree with all of what he said. I would love to see it go really big, in terms of a big scale, both men and women alike, even eventually youth mentorship, getting into schools, having program and workshops in the schools where, each one teach one is bringing to you these things that I could host. I really believe in the power of a mustard seed, and what really matters to me is that it gets planted, because God will do the rest.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
And I know that we're doing that. We're planting those mustard seeds in the listeners and everyone who's going to show up, and they're going to feel it, and it's going to be great.
So, what kind of feedback are you guys getting right now from the last 2 weeks?
People are excited. I've got a lot of people that are extremely excited to come. A lot of men that are like, you don't even know, this came at the right time. I needed this. I've been struggling. Had some men that were like, should I go? Should I not? I've been going through this, that, and the other. And we've just been like, no.
You got to. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been seeing on my end. Because I talk to a lot of these men personally.
Yeah.
A lot of my followers, we have a really good relationship. I work with them, in real life as well. And it's everyone's excited.
Yeah.
People are excited. I got a few that are really excited to see how we can speak.
So I had an old friend that got locked up when I was 15. He did almost 20 years in prison. Obviously nothing good, right? But his niece follows me on Instagram, right? And he happened, I didn't even know he was out yet, but he happened to see it, and he saw the Each One Teach One, and he saw somebody, I think it was you, talking about it. And he's like, man, you guys gonna be talking about mental health? He's like, that's beautiful, bro. He's a lot of these carnalitos need to see that, they need to hear that.
Yeah.
He's all, because it's sad the amount of the kids that go in. He's all, luckily for me, you know, I had older brothers in there that were looking out for me, but I saw how some of these kids get taken advantage of at an early age in there, and they end up hanging themselves or whatever, like just crazy stuff, right? And he's all, that message needs to get out, and it needs to get out fast.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when he told me that, I'm like, it gave me goosebumps, man, because I'm actually speaking and possibly helping at least one person out in
Not
the right
possibly,
direction. You know,
we are.
You know what I mean?
are.
Sure.
I got the,
what you guys are doing is awesome.
I got the people from middle school that know me from middle school.
Yeah.
And they're like, Rio, you doing what you doing right now? I go, yeah. But they don't.
Are you sure you, bro?
And they were like, wait, because they only follow like my personal, and I posted it on my personal.
Yeah.
But I keep those two things separate. You know what I mean? And so, but I posted it because, you know, whatnot. And they were like, well, if anything, it's a good reason you're like, you have enough in your background to be like, this is, and so again, like, I think we want to be believable, and sometimes you only believe the people whose stories is mimicked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what I've kind of like, but Rio, you doing that? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's dope. It's because it's people that are still like in the street, in the projects, and they
can relate.
They can relate to that, like, but they're never gonna leave that. You know what I mean?
Bro. And that's
and that's sad because I'm 46. Obviously, my friends are like in that age, and they're still
doing that lifestyle.
And they're going, "Hey, kudos, you're doing it," but they're like, they're not even ready. Like, you brought it up,
but you'd be surprised the power of inspiration, though.
Yeah. So
like, you can have the worst circumstances, and you can be inspired. And that will get you out.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I've gotten. I've gotten to like, Real, you doing that?
They're shocked.
But obviously the We Are Sacramento group be like, okay, this is dope. And it's, it's mainly, and I will say, it's mainly from women.
Yeah.
That have been like, oh yeah, this is dope. This is dope. And I think mostly women are coming.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of women that, like, I looked at the invite, maybe they're bringing a guy or whatever, but most of the names are women.
Hopefully they're bringing their kids or their nephews, cousins, you know?
So I got a couple emails from the Eventbrite asking if they already bought tickets, but it's sold out, or they got tickets and it's sold out. Can they bring someone? I say, look, you can still bring someone. They may just not be enough chairs.
Yeah.
But still bring them because it is important.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Even if you see the flyer late, don't, maybe we should post something like, hey, don't worry about the ticket sales. Just come.
Just come, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's the importance is like
getting that message out there.
Getting that message. And sometimes I will tell you, it takes your wife, your daughter, your sister to get you to go get help. So if women are coming, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because those women are going to get men to go do what they need to do.
And that's what I was just going to say, right? It's the power that women have to influence their home. I always say men are the spiritual leaders. They're the leaders in all these other formats, providers, protectors, and all this. But women, we hold that spiritual wisdom, that deep ancestral
100%.
knowledge within us, and we bring that to our husbands.
100%.
And that's a gift to our families, you know? A wise woman by your side, you'll go far.
Boy, let me tell you, man. God bless me with one, man. I'm blessed. And my boy over here is blessed with one over here, too.
He only blinked once, so he's okay.
He's okay. It was half a blink. It was half a blink. Don't even give him full credit for one.
He got to drive home.
Hey, listen, we've been together a long time, so you got to throw in a little razzle dazzle every now and again.
That's right.
Homegirl's still in there if need be.
That homie says best says. Oh man, good time.
Stay ready, cause man, you know me. You never know, Bubba. You never know.
That's right. He loves it though.
Yeah,
he loves to push my buttons. I think it's because he likes. He gets a kick out of it, and then he'll be like, "You're so cute. Give me a kiss," and all this stuff. And I'm like,
you so pretty when you're angry, girl.
Yeah, he likes it. He likes it. He likes living life on the edge.
They put a cape on her. Now she's Superman.
That's funny.
We got issues. We got issues, man. We got issues.
See, humor, man. Humor is good.
So I know we're getting close on the time here, but this is another thing I wanted to kind of just bring up. Like, I'm really like I use this one a lot, right? So when I coach a lot of youth football. Because for me, if I didn't play youth sports, you wouldn't have this Danny. This Danny wouldn't be sitting right here with you. Right. So a lot of the youth sports and some of the coaches, honestly, some of them were bad coaches, right? Some of them weren't the greatest. But funny as it sounds, some of them still put little positive dimes in my bucket, right?
Yeah.
Certain words they said or certain actions they did, like, oh, that was good. I saw that. So I try to tell like the kids, man, like we all have doors we're going through.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of these doors that we walk in, you get your ass kicked. You know what I mean? And I'm at the point in my life where I tell my kids, let's not go through that door. I'm telling you because of myself, my own experience, that door is gonna pick you up, is gonna kick you and spit you out. What is the one positive thing that you would tell a young adult, right? A kid graduating high school, about to start his life, right? What is the few things you would give him to prepare for his life, to hopefully protect him from dealing with extra mental shit that he just doesn't need?
Yeah, I think for me is I believed everything everyone told me when I was growing up. So the best thing don't ever believe everything everybody else tells you. Even if it's someone that loves you, sometimes those are the people that can kill your dreams or even stop you from believing in yourself. So it's not about, again, not disrespecting your parents. I think it's a matter of just believing in yourself, and it's okay. And just be respectful about it, but still have questions, still believe in yourself, stand up for yourself. That's probably the best advice that I got. You know, when I started going to school, high school, and we're talking late in the game, right? Like we're talking 17, 8, damn near 18. And it's just, don't believe everything everybody else tells you about you. Because only you know how you feel. Only you know how you're taking in your experiences. And I think listening, but not believing everything everybody tells you about you.
Yeah.
I think that I would tell a young person or a young man the importance of not making the same mistake twice. Being able to be teachable and that everybody is teaching you something if you're paying attention. And I think with that advice, you're able to take a little bit of something from everybody, good and bad, what not to be, what to be. And also being disciplined enough with yourself mentally to not make the same mistake twice.
Yes.
One mistake that you make, good, you learn. That's how you learn in life. You're going to learn by making mistakes. You can't learn if you don't make any mistakes.
Right.
Just don't let it happen twice.
Passion without
and
direction.
So you're ensuring that you're constantly moving forward.
Right.
You close that chapter, all right, cool, next level.
Right.
And just take that approach to life. Be disciplined in everything that you do and do everything with integrity.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's go. I'm excited, man.
I know. I'm excited too. I think it's going to be great.
I'm excited. What time are you guys opening the door Saturday?
Well, 4:00 starts at 5, right? But I'm opening the doors at 4. Everything, you guys can get there whenever you guys want, obviously, just to see the space, kind of get comfortable. Hopefully, we'll do you right by our set that we're gonna create. You know what I mean? Because we seen the standard. So now I gotta drop me off at the gallery, bro.
Drop me off at the gallery.
Y'all trying to set me up. I'm not. That's podcast. Y'all trying to set the standard. So we're gonna open the doors at 4:00, just because there's always people that come in and and Art's gonna bring the food, so I know that's gonna be bomb. And we just want to make people proud of what we're doing, and then hopefully.
Is there anything you need us to bring? I mean,
or anything you guys need for help,
like extra for help?
No,
everything's done.
Just show up. Do you guys have an extra table so I can just kind of put some of my stuff on the table? Yeah. We good? All right.
Oh, yeah.
So I got one thing that I want you guys to speak about. So what would you tell a young couple, or maybe it's a single parent, that have kid too early? They're still trying to figure out their own things. They're going through, they're learning. But in the meantime, you got this young kid, and it can be multiple kids that you are making an impression on. What would be one piece of advice you would tell them, for those parents that maybe have these kids too young and they're going through it? Like, what would you advise them?
I would say I had my daughter very young. And all my children fairly young. I think the biggest thing that I told myself is the standard that I expect in my children, I need to hold myself to first, which means every decision that I make, the way I conduct myself, everything needs to be made with the idea of would I want my daughters to be this way, and would I want my sons to marry someone like me? And I'm not going to stop until I become that person.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
That's what I would say.
For me, it was a different experience. I was never, I was with the people, but then we ended up co-parenting. And I will say, I think, from my experience, if you're co-parenting and you're young, measure your words and measure your actions, because the mom may forget about those because we're in the heat of the moment, but that kid is going to look at that and remember that. And that's a really big hole to get out of when you're a man, like, because again, like, I think I made a joke out of it coming here, but it's like, set the standard.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a young parent, set the standard to build your children up. Whatever you got going on with the mom, that's neither here or there, because that child is, like, I think one of you guys said it, is a sponge. You're taking everything in, and that person's going to treat another person like that. And I think
like that
happens to a lot of people, and it's a cycle, right? And that we're trying to break, right? So again, I think it's a matter of, like, check your emotions at the door, because, like, the value of showing up is crazy. And I me, like, I'm around my kids. I went to my son's graduation, and I wasn't sitting with everyone because I don't like people behind me. We're in the stands inside. And listen, again, there's things that are never gonna go away.
Yes.
And I do not like a bunch of people behind me like that. So I went in, so he didn't see me, right?
Yeah.
And so I texted him. I knew he had his phone. I texted him, I'm right under the basket. Raised my hand, and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how
it changes his whole.
Yeah. But I just fed him the whole week.
Yeah.
Right? But
that moment,
that moment, it's his accomplishment itself. Me feeding him is my responsibility. But that other stuff,
absolutely.
So again, it's like, it's be the best you that you can be, even if you're going through it. And, I think that's kind of the best advice, because nobody gave it to me. Just kind of check your emotions.
Yeah. I want to piggyback off of that a little bit, too. Because,
shit, you guys just gave me like 2 more questions.
I grew up, with a stepfather, and my biological father wasn't in my life. And there was issues with his wife. And, I was the bastarda and illegitimate daughter, whatever, right? As it pertains to co-parenting.
Yeah.
I think it's extremely important for adults to understand that the relationship that the parents have copaesthetically or lack thereof directly impacts the child.
Yes.
There were so many moments in my life that I wish the adults would have just got it together for the sake of what I needed, which was a stability, emotional, mental, physical, right? And to understand that the way a woman treats a man or the way a man treats a woman, together or not together, directly impacts the way they're showing up as father and mother. So as a man, you can't be disrespecting the mother of your child thinking that she's going to show up to be her best in raising your daughter. She's going to project that, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So be mindful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I grew up with my parents not together. My dad was in the picture for a little bit. It was a bad situation, but the biggest thing that I always choose, and it's one of the things that I seek when I was looking for a partner, is my mom never to this day has said something bad about my dad.
That's important.
And she has so many reasons. Now that I understand it, like, he beat her like many times in the street, kick her on the floor in front of me. She had all the reasons to tell me bad things about him.
Yeah.
And never, like, she was always just positive, and she always told me, listen, that's my relationship with your dad. The relationship between you and your dad should be separate than the relationship I have with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that is huge.
Yes. My mom was the same way.
And
I loved her for that. Eventually you get to an age where you're like, oh, I understand.
Yeah,
I
you
see
get it
now. But it shows the level of wisdom that your mom had to be able to understand that that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
100%.
And it sucks too when kids are put in a position where they're knowing all the adult business, and now you got kids choosing side with parents, and then siblings not getting along. Like, it's such a trickle down effect, and it's so unnecessary, because it's such a disservice to children or siblings and family dynamics as a whole.
Yeah. So I got a heavy one for you, bro, before we get out of here, man.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a friend, and he comes up to you and he tells you, man, I don't want to be here no more. What kind of words would you give him to make him think otherwise?
So I've had my own son say that.
Oh,
At like he was 6 when he said it.
oh no.
So, and it was right after school, and it was the pressure. His thing was the pressure of growing up, right? And so then, and he literally said, like, right, get him in the car, and he was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I said, well, why? Well, why? What's going on? At first, I'm thinking he's talking about school. You know, we're changing school, whatever. No, he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I was like, oh shit, training got to go into effect. So I got to stop being dad right now and be like, why the fuck, you know, like, you're so blessed you got all this.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've been taught to when you deal with suicidal thoughts or someone that is suicidal is to never question why they feel like that and to validate their feelings. So what I did for him was, I'm here for you. If you ever feel like that, you can talk to me. I'll just listen to you. So the only thing that you can do is listen. You can't question. You should not question. Because again, it goes into the mindset of now you're challenging their feelings. And when you're dealing with someone that feels that way, invalidating those feelings could actually be the difference between life or death. Like, oh, this person didn't care. They only cared about how they felt about what I said. And there's a pretty dope story about a guy that survived the jumping from Golden Gate, and there haven't been that many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a big thing on him on YouTube. Like, you go watch it. It's on YouTube. If you look it up, Survivor from Golden Gate Bridge. And he said that right before he was gonna jump, someone asked him to take a picture of them, and that was what made him make the final decision to jump, because in his mind, no one gave a fuck.
Mm.
But again, you know,
Yeah,
no one
but you're
knows.
going through those feelings.
You're going through those feelings. So again, it proves the point. It's like challenging someone. It could be not listening. If you don't listen, if you ridicule or not listen to someone that feels that way, as if, oh man, you're crazy. Why do you feel like that? Look, you got a nice car. You got this. You get like, again, like, you know, cops make a bunch of money. First responders make a bunch of money. Obviously, money and things are not the problem.
Mm-mm.
You know, having a family is being blessed with a good family is not the problem. It's how you're wired and how you process information and how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And so when my son said that, you know, and the mom was right there and she didn't know what to do, you know, I sent her to her car and I said, you need to go in the car.
That's
And
deep,
then
brother.
let me talk to him, you know? And so because, you know, I don't think everyone's suicidal, but I think everyone's questions how would someone feel if you're not around.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not honest enough to say that you haven't thought about how would it feel if I'm not here,
Yeah.
I think that in some kind of way, like, I think that's, you know, so because I dealt with that with my son at a very young age, and I will say, like, my son is very open about his feelings. That's one thing that I will never take away from him. Like, he's very clear, like, cut, like it cuts. Like, I was like, oh, what? Like, you go into like, what did I do?
Yeah.
What did I do? And if we talk about a friend, like, again, I've had friends that have felt like that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can say. You should just listen. Like,
Just be there.
learning to shut the fuck up is a very big tool to have. Like, when someone's
That's good
telling
to
you
know,
their
bro.
feelings,
That's really good to know.
and just say, I understand. I understand how you feel. But never the why, never the go get help, never the this, like the direct, like, go get help.
Yeah.
It's the I'm here for you. Because obviously, if you tell them go get help, they're already telling you.
Yeah.
You're the help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Right.
bro, that's
You're the
deep.
help.
Yes.
So if you dismiss it,
Yeah. Like, go somewhere else, basically.
go here, because even if you're not equipped,
just listen, bro.
all you
Just
got to do is listen. That's it. And it was the hardest thing I've ever been through with my son. And my son's done some dumbass shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really, like, I'm like, really, dude? Like, but this, okay, this I can, okay, like, this was tough.
Yeah, bro.
Like, go steal something. Go break something. Like, go.
How old is your son now?
He is now 14.
Oh, wow.
And he's the coolest little shit out of, you know what I
Have
mean?
you ever had
brightest.
another incident like that before?
Not
Good?
anymore.
No, right on, bro.
And so I think,
I'm assuming you guys are tight, man.
Yeah, me and my son, but me and, we're tight. Like, I think that's the blessing of like not pressuring my children. I walk them to church. I'm not big on church. I was forced to go to church, but I walk my kids to church. It's their decision to go seek that out. And I think that's also important to do. And I think I've helped to raise them to be independent. Independent enough where my son felt comfortable telling me that he didn't, because that was tough.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I mean? Because it was like butter when he said it. I was like, and I'm freaking the fuck out inside. Like, I don't.
And you were trying to stay cool at the same time.
Like, you know what I mean?
Or think like, what did I do wrong, or where did we go wrong? Or
like because you automatically go into
what did I do, man?
Parent,
what
you know what I mean? And then as a friend, it's like, but I'm there for you. Like, we go out, we go to the club, like, we do this, we do that, and we, you know what I mean? And you go into this, but it's not. It's again, I guess the best advice is it's not about you. So you just got to listen and just kind of take it and don't say things like "go get help" or "why."
I think that message is good for everybody, bro. To learn to
Women
know that,
and men,
because one of my friends, we had him on the show, and long story short, I didn't know that I knew the situation was bad, but I didn't know it was as bad as he told us afterwards, right? But God just told me to go visit him that day, intervene. And, he sat him down. I started talking to him. And once he started talking, I just knew, just listen. Just shut up and just listen. Nobody ever told me what to do or how, but I just knew right there, like, man, he's got to get a lot of weight off of his chest, bro. Yeah. Right? And then turns out he was like, he wanted to hang himself that day. Yeah. And something just called me to him that day. And I can't explain it. But I think what you just gave the world right now is a really strong tool for what we need to really. I think we need to really dig deep on Saturday. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I think, and I'll try to say this because I don't talk about the subject much because it still bothers me a lot. But listen to those feelings, because oh shit, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it out. When you went through your shit, I had that feeling. And I didn't listen to it. And to this day, it still bothers me. So listen to the voice. Because you can save a life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. We're here, baby. We're here together, man.
Yeah.
We're here together.
Well, that's kind of why we're doing this, right? Like, I think.
Love you too, brother.
Yeah. Learning to be uncomfortable is a big thing.
100%, bro.
So, yeah. See, even see the tools, right? So, like, my defense mechanism, like, oh shit, someone's crying. I have to
crack a joke.
I gotta crack a joke here. I know. But then you check yourself, like, no, like, again, like we so used to making things about ourselves. When it's so much bigger and then the emotion is big and then you can't just dilute it to
and you just gotta listen to what you're feeling. I actually talked to my wife the night before.
Yeah.
There was like for the whole week I kept telling Aaron, there's something going on with Danny. There's something going on with Danny. But I didn't want to overstep. So I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And, thankfully we're here now. But just listen.
I will point something out. Let me point something out.
Yeah.
The dynamic, though, like, I'm big on, like, watching. I watch, right? And so then, you knocked on the door. You still have I'm going to knock on the door.
Right.
And then your wife goes, man, just come in. Use your key. You may or may not have a key. Yeah. But it's like the dynamic you guys have, you guys can tell you guys are close. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, again, like, I think a lot of men don't have that cushion sometimes. It is like where a guy can go, there's something wrong. Because some women be like, that's the women's intuition. Like, no, it's not. It's just somebody's close to somebody else. Yeah. And we all have it. It's just, it's so derived to, like, men not being able to show that, right? And so I think that's pretty dope that you guys have a pretty good relationship where it's like, you're walking, like, you're still acting like 15-year-olds. Like, you walk into each other's house. Yeah. Right? Like, it's like, and then no one complains because, like, that's the dynamic. And, and that we all forgot, like, we forgot to be kids. Like, the level of being comfortable that way. That's pretty dope.
My kids call Manco and they mean it.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's pretty dope.
We're family.
Like, I saw the hug, you know what I mean, from your kids. So you see the the support, like again, if we want to get anything out of this, it's having the support system. That's it.
And the power
100%.
of initiative too. If you don't have that and you desire that, go get it.
Absolutely.
Be willing to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to attain what you desire. Whether that is going to, I don't know, play basketball at the park on freaking Fridays when you see all the guys there, or joining your local kickball team, or going to a men's group.
Bro, we're over
Bible
40.
study.
We got to do like
Bingo, whatever.
Hold on.
No, I was gonna say maybe
She said
go.
kickball. I'm like, hold on, girl.
Hold on.
This ain't recess.
First of all, I see a lot of grown adult kickball leagues. I was telling my husband we need to go on one. But things like that. I'd say go to a bar, but
no.
I don't know about how positive that influence would be. But you never know. Just things that put you. You have to start your vulnerability journey somewhere.
Right.
And you cannot reach that level of connection with other human beings if you are not willing to be that vulnerable with yourself first. And that's the double-edged sword in all of this, is that you can desire all these things, you can want these things, you can pray for these things, but unless you take the action and initiative to attain these things, you're not going to receive it. And that's the hardest freaking part, is saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try this. I'm going to lean. I'm going to make that phone call. I'm going to be like, hey, something's really going on with me. But it's so necessary.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that I noticed too is, like, most of the guys that I talk to, like, nothing wrong with having the same friends from elementary or middle school or high school, but sometimes you need to step out of your circle and meet new people, right? Because sometimes it'd be those people that are holding you down, right? Versus if you just step out of your element and you meet new people, meet new characters, personalities, circumstances, different locations, it just triggers you a little differently. So that's one thing I would tell people is step out of your comfort zone, man, and go meet new people.
Yeah. And what you spoke about earlier, Angel, I know you called it instinct, and something in you was telling you. I truly believe that to be the Holy Spirit. And part of being obedient in your life is being obedient to that calling as well.
Absolutely.
So if it even in your healing journey, right? There will be times that you're called to do something and you're like, why would I want to do this? Like for me, it was God put it on my heart to talk to my stepdad and be like, I forgive you for all that you did to me. Did my flesh want to do it? No, it didn't. But I had asked God to intervene in my life. So I said, you're putting this on my heart, I'm going to do it. And just being obedient to that.
Right.
In every aspect of your life. If God's putting it on your heart to, call up a friend and be like, hey, I wanted to check in on you today.
How you doing?
Or say I love you.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And you usually know it's from a higher power when it's the thing you don't want to do. When it's the thing that your flesh is like, should I? You're trying to rationalize it and like, nah, I don't know about this. Or, you didn't want to overstep. When our brain, our flesh starts trying to talk us out of doing something, that's the thing that you have to do the most.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Man, this was awesome.
Yes.
This was awesome.
Yeah.
Man, we're going to have Angel clip them up real quick and we're going to send them out there, man. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about the each one, teach one?
I'm excited for it. Yeah.
So do you want to speak into what camera? Is she speaking into this one? No. And tell everybody about this Saturday, what to expect, what time, et cetera, et cetera. Do your thing, Mama.
All right. This Saturday, June 21st in Sacramento at the Gallery, we are going to be hosting our first ever Each One Teach One event that is in honor of Men's Mental Health Month. You get to come out and enjoy food and cafecito donated by Bueno Cafe in Vallejos, an event sponsored by Danny, which is one of our panelists right here. And you get to enjoy really deep, transparent, vulnerable conversation where we discuss an array of topics regarding mental health, business, and all the things that pertain to just achieving self-greatness and personal greatness in your life. So I hope that you can come out and get vulnerable with us.
Yeah.
Mario, anything?
Man, no.
Come on, baby. Come on.
Just look. Listen.
Be there or be there.
Come on.
I know we got a link and everything, but if you really need the help and need the tools, just show up. You might just not have a chair, but come get whatever you need it. Because if you're someone that needs it, just show up.
Or bring a chair.
Bring your own chair.
Yeah.
If you got a launch, you know what? Bring your own chair.
I like that.
You never know. Have
You
it in the
never
car.
know. we've had that before where people
Yeah.
bring their own chair. So bring your own chair if you really want to go. Like just show up. It's important, and we really want to see how we can scale it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's
And it's free. I know you
And
guys
it's
been
free.
saying it. It's
It
free.
is free.
yeah, it's free.
Yes.
So yeah, just show up. Yeah, check out
Alrighty.
everybody at Sacramento.
Hey,
Yeah.
I just want to say really quick to all the gentlemen that was speaking for Iman, the videos. Hey, I salute you guys, because that, to me, honestly, as a man, I think that was one of the most beautiful things that I've seen this week, for you guys to be able to talk about mental health awareness, why it's important. Only thing I would say is just keep on spreading that word, bro, as often as you can, because there's a lot of men out there that keep trying to hide it. And the more we talk about it, the more we spread the word, the more that curtain starts to fall down a little bit. So I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart, one man to another. Thank you very much.
Yes.
sir.
Thank you for having us. As
Man,
well.
thank
absolutely,
you.
absolutely.
Beautiful place, beautiful set.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
It starts with a fire you can't ignore, a whisper that says you were made for more. Just this is the roots of ambition.